What's up, everybody? I'm back. Today we're going to look at what's in the mix for the song I wrote for the new HyperRig Kiesel guitar plugin. Hopefully you listened to the song already, and I just want to show what's in it, some production trickery, and yeah, basically the arrangement and all that fun stuff. Without further ado, let's take a look at the first part. It sounds like this. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty metal. I felt a little Metallica battery would be cool, so I did my own spin on that. So really what we have is a quad-tracked guitar, bass single track split into two. So I have like a, yeah, let's just do one thing at a time. Bass sounds like this. Then I double that and put some distortion on it. Together, hell yeah, my drums sound like this. And yes, I put all these drum notes there one at a time. That's just how I roll. Here's a good way of doing a drum roll, by the way, in MIDI. Have a harder hit and then three softer hits in varying velocity. Sounds pretty convincing for being a computer. And then to the guitars. So I tracked so I quad-tracked all of this. So, you know, wrote the riff, recorded one guitar at a time. And this is all the HyperRig Kiesel, so it looks like this. You should watch my walkthrough on it too. So all of the guitars in this song is made with this. Pretty cool stuff. And because you have so many options of like shaping the tone with using different cabs and the EQ of the amps, and there's, you know, pedals and all that fun stuff. I did a lot of the guitar mixing in the plugins. Rather than me tossing a ton of plugins on the tracks, I mixed most of the guitars in the plugin. Super convenient. You can, because it's all DIs, right? If I solo this one. You know, that's really what it is. I have infinite possibilities to tweak the sound after the fact. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to use this a lot in my production, I can already tell. So yeah, that's like the riff section. Not too much to say about it. Pan left, pan right, pan left, pan right. And then it's just like bang your sweaty head until it sounds good, you know. There's a B section. It sounds like this. All right, so what's going on there, you ask? Well, I want my chorus sections to open up a little bit. Let me just fix this because again, I'm driving crazy. So I have some melody. Just what you would expect from a John Holt song. There's some counterpoint, there's some, you know, classical influences. So those are my four harmonies, and then we add two more at the end, because why not? What can I say? I like melodies. There's also what I call a disc filler. power chords an octave up. It's just to make it more, and I also make sure that all these guitars sound pretty different than the rhythm guitars. All the rhythm guitars are the same, by the way. So clean guitars, just heavily saturated in the plugin. That's a cool little thing I can show you. So there's this push, which essentially adds, the equivalent of power amp saturation. So, and I love that sound. It doesn't sound like overdrive. It just sounds like a really pushed clean channel. And I added some keyboards because you need keyboards. Who doesn't love keyboards? I'm just outlining the chords. Choir. Church organ. Kind of like a Euro techno EDM pad if you want. Together, sounds like this. Why do I put all this in there? Well, I want it to feel bigger and different. I want the color and vibe to be different than the riff. So the riffs are really dry and tight and just chuggity. So when the more melodic part happens, I like it to open up so it feels different. Another thing I do, just the way I route this, is on my, I got all these fillers routed to my output 13, 11, 12, and 15, 16. So 11, 12 is going to be my guitar fillers, and 15, 16 is going to be my keyboards. And what I like to do here is I add on the sides only, and this is getting a little more into technical mixing aspect, like I boost the highs on the side only. So when those parts come in, it just feels like the stereo image gets a little wider. And here's the last trick that I use all the time. I've set up a guitar sidechain master channel. So whenever I want something ducked out of the way from something else, I just put it on its own channel. I have a lot of videos on sidechaining. There's no output on this track, but I use this too. So like on my rhythm guitars, I have a little Pro MB here somewhere. Where are you? This is so calm. You're not it. Here's Pro MB. That's not it. Where did I put it? I have a little Pro MB over here. So this is an output 9 and 10. This all goes into a summing mixer, but don't worry about it. Just all my rhythm guitars go here. So for it not to become like guitar too heavy, too much riff, too much guitar, because then you start drowning out the drums and the bass and all that stuff, I will use my guitar master sidechain and put a multi-band compressor on my guitar bus. So whenever I want to push the rhythm guitars out of the way a little bit without having to automate every time it happens, because it drives me crazy, I'll just put a multi-band compressor. I have it set to band external, and it's sidechained to guitar sidechain. So whenever I put anything up here on this track, it will affect the multi-band compressor on my rhythm guitar track, meaning it will lower the rhythm guitars. So to make room for all that keyboards and stuff that we just talked about, I just have this sidechain take care of it for me with the multi-band compressor. And this is on the mid side only, or the mid really only. And how does this affect you ask? Well, the only thing that happens is it doesn't get too much guitar. So now I can set how much I want that rhythm guitar track to be pushed out of the way with the wrench knob here. And the threshold, of course. So super convenient way for me to make mixing easier, and I don't have to automate so much. Anyways, what happens next? So I just added a couple of extra tracks here just to make this part of the mix easier, because I had a feeling that I probably want to do stuff with that, like maybe make them a little brighter, make them a little louder. So instead of having to automate on the rhythm guitar track, I just create new tracks, stick them in there, easy peasy. Anyways, riff repeats, B section repeats. We heard all that already. Then we had some hits, and this sounds very much like One by Metallica. If you guessed that, you were right. That's a couple of bars. And if that drum thing with the kick and the snare felt a lot like Wages of Sin with Arch Enemy, you're absolutely right. So, Metallica 1, Wages of Sin by Arch Enemy. Yeah. I add one thing here, and that is a thickener. That's just a fifth guitar that's straight down the center. I make it fatter than the others. It just feels and sounds a little bit different. So, and I put some delay on it, because why not? I just feel it gives it a little more chunga chung to those diggy 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 da, to the hits. Cool. And also worth mentioning that China is louder than all the other cymbals. How do we do that? Because I wanted that to feel pretty obvious, and if that was at the level of the other overheads, it would just not be loud enough. So I did two things. One, I made it louder, and two, I added a doubler. Make sure you turn that off if you use it though, because otherwise your overheads will start to phase, and you're gonna be like, why do my overheads phase? Because I did that. I did that recently. Anyways, we're in the next part. Let's listen to some triplets. Cool beans. That sounds very European. Also a tremendous pain in the ass to play. Um, so we've had 4 guitars this whole time. Now there's only 2 guitars. Why is only 2 guitars, you ask? Well, it's because we have this lead guitar part, and it just starts competing for space in the mix. So why don't we take half of the guitars out? That will give you a little more room for your lead guitar. Also, I've added that to my master sidechain guitar track up here, so that when this comes in, it pushes the rhythm guitars out of the way and out of the center. So the lead guitar sounds like this. Fantastic pain in the ass to play. What else do we have? We have some clean chords. Very nice. We have some. Oh yeah, I'm doubling with the keyboard. So a good way to cheat a stereo effect is to use Logic's sample delay. Turn it off, sounds like this. But hey, that's where my lead guitar is. Damn Skippy, we can't have that. No, it's on the sides. Cool, magic, I take it. And what would neoclassical shred be without some pipe organ? And that is iKey Multimedia Miroslav. That's where I got that organ. Together, something like this. Okay, and then things happen. The keyboards starts to harmonize. And I was thinking about doing this in the guitars, but I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna program it in the keyboard instead. And had I just done the keyboard first, I probably would have rushed less on the guitar, but oh well, here we are. Oh, here's another arranging thing. When that harmony comes in, it it takes some of the attention away. This is like an attention grabber. Something happens, and that's why I took out the clean chords there. So you don't really hear it. A lot of this is just texture. I just wanted to not to be heard but felt. It's like depth in a painting. You don't see the brush strokes that came before the thing you're focusing on. It's like, to me, music is the same way. And I want you to hear this stuff. I just wanted to be there to give you more depth in the mix. And you can't have infinite depth or infinite focal points because it just gets muddy, messy. So when the harmony comes in, I take the clean chords out. Let's listen to it. The organ stays though. So the guitar is still in the center. This is a guitar demo after all. But now it feels like there's a bunch of thirds, and that's exactly what it is. And then it's like we get to the finale. So the chords change. You know, it's a lot of major chords with flat sixes, major arpeggios with both minor and major thirds. So I want to feel real sonically ambiguous. Like you don't really know what, like Land of the Lost, when they've gone through the caves and it opens up and there's this brand new world and it's filled with wonder and excitement, but also a little danger, and we're unsure. So that's kind of the chords I'm trying to use. And to really emphasize on this, I put more keyboards in because why not? There's only so much I can do with guitar. Just the keyboards. And here I just took the idea of harmonizing in thirds and put it in the guitars instead. Pretty cool. Okay, we're in the kind of synthy, keyboardy dark part. Sounds like this. Alrighty, so what's going on there? We got a guitar that I tried to sound kind of surreal. It's really just a bunch of delay and reverb and took some treble out of it. And I double that because I wanted like a kind of analog synthy warbly sound. And this just comes from me playing too much Metroid when I was a kid. Yeah, it's like you're in the underground caverns of some planet mysteriously far away. Another cool thing here is that snare drum roll. So, if you've never seen or if you've ever seen a drummer play a press roll, I think they call it. Typically, the first hit is hard, and then they just by how much pressure they apply to the stick. So that's what I did in MIDI, and hence the beautiful colors. And then some whammy out of tune guitar, not violently out of tune, but I was kind of going for that kind of drunk vibe. Yeah, a bunch of stuff happens. The chords change into C major to an F minor, which is the most dreamy and longing of all the chord changes. It's the F minor 6, really. Clean guitars, melody on top of that. Yeah, welcome to my brain. B section is back, we heard that before. Also, shout out to Paul Bostaff for that fill. If you ever heard Divine Intervention by Slayer, there's a lot of kick, snare, and a crash, and run the toms, and very often lands on a snare and a cymbal. When I heard that when I was a wee lad, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So, thanks, Paul. We are in the clean section. Let's listen to it. There's also a fairly lengthy guitar solo. So let's just listen to the whole thing and let's talk about it. Cool. All right, so what's going on? Clean guitar. Sounds like this. Okay, cool. So I want it to be in focus, so it's dead center. Again, it's the Kiesel Suite. All of this is the HyperRig Kiesel. Then I have a little solo thing-a-ding. Where'd you go? So a couple of things that happen here. I go from having the clean guitar because I want it to be in focus. Again, think of it like a movie. You know, if every character in the background never was in focus, it would just be super confusing to watch, right? So typically you want your main character to be in focus, and then you have all the other stuff in the peripheral to give it depth and you know, meaning and all that stuff. So when that clean guitar comes in, I'm already playing that long note in the solo, but I'm not side chaining it anything out of the way. But then when the solo really begins, I split that clean guitar into two, and you can hear how it goes from being center to left and right. So yeah, I just tracked it twice. And when that comes in, and this is the guitar solo down here, I also start using my sidechain trick to push these two out of the center so this lead guitar can hang out, you know, all by its lonesome a little bit in the middle, and just thus having less to compete with. So also a couple of harmonics here that I added for ambiance and texture. Not super easy to whammy uh, in tune when you track. But yeah, I like how those came out. The harmonics work really well with the string guitar. And that really just goes into like a Lydian section. I mean, the solo is an E, well, E flat technically, because I tuned down the guitars. And as I mentioned before, whenever I find myself in Lydian land, I tend to Steve I it up quite a bit. And at the end, I get a lot of harmony too. You know, a little simple voice leading. The riff is back, and this is one little thing I can say about that. All right, so how do we, you know, we changed the tempo, changed the vibe. How do we get back into the riff? Well, let's make a pretty significant threshold to stub our toe in. All right, so as you can see, I had this in the rhythm guitars originally. But it's like, I want to change the sound of each of these. I just gave them new tracks. Then I could tweak in the HyperRig Kiesel, the plugin, just to make these guitars sound a little bit different than these, the rhythm guitars. And the old telephone trick, and that's just Pro Q with the telephone preset. Man, that really finds its way into the last stuff I do. And you know, left, right, left, center, and then band comes in. And that is really it. You know, that's the riff into the B section with the hits at the end. So now you know everything you need to know about the arrangement of HyperRig Kiesel. Hope you found this helpful and interesting. I sure liked talking about it. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Cool. Later.